On today's show, Devin Booker appears unhappy. Is it warranted? Should he be? We'll talk about it, as well as Dillon Brooks' presence is already being felt across this team. I'll tell you why. It's a perfect fit in Arizona, and we'll do it next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of The Ben Garcia Show, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays on YouTube at 7 a.m., as well as a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the year. Thank you so much for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Thursday night, Friday morning. So wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, thank you for making me a part of your day. There's a lot of things to get into on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns. Like I said yesterday, it is no more like just nonsense. It's no more rankings. Like, we're getting down to brass tacks here really quickly with the Phoenix Suns. So there's legitimately no time to waste. We got to jump right into it right here. We're still reacting to some of the big things, or at least I am, that happened over Media Day, because I thought there were some things even yesterday that kind of got left out, but some more deeper, more kind of interesting notions where you're like, what does that mean? And so we'll start here. Devin Booker, everyone kind of noticed this. And it wasn't obviously just me. It was noticed across, Suns Twitter or wherever it may be. And people noticed that Devin Booker appeared a little less jolly this year. Oftentimes, Booker is a very chill soul. But there's a clear difference between being chill, laid back, kind of an old soul, that is what Devin Booker is, and almost a mentality of the last 2 years do not define who I am. And I was so wrong on this. I have no issues admitting when I'm wrong on things. And I thought this team would be energizing to Devin Booker. I thought it'd be kind of a breath of fresh air, because this team is much closer to the 2021 version of the Phoenix Suns than last year's team was. Now, that's not to say that this team is anywhere near how good that team is. It's just substantially closer than what last year's and the years before that teams are. It's younger. It's more energetic. They play defense. I think they're going to play better together. Yeah, there's the continuing will he, won't he, and Jalen Green. That's kind of the rift in Suns social media, Suns fan bases as a whole. Like, some people are on the side of he's just going to be awesome. Some people like myself are a little skeptical. And so I just thought, with a breath of fresh air that is this team, Devin Booker would immerse himself in that. But that just wasn't the case yesterday. Now, that's not to say Devin Booker isn't happy to have the team he has. And it's not to say Devin Booker doesn't love the dudes on this team. I think this is going to be one of the most fun Suns seasons since 2021, 2022. No, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. No, I don't think they're going to be a finals team. But there is just something to going out, playing ball, showing people, showing other teams that you belong in this space. Like, that's where I'm at. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to watch the Suns go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder at home on ESPN, and the whole nation sees, yeah, Oklahoma might win, but when they leave, they're going to say, damn, man, that was supposed to be an easier game. We got to go to Minnesota next. These guys play just as physically tough. Now, they don't get as many buckets as we do, and we had to win that game 105-99, but damn, we really had to tough that one out. But I think Devin Booker was mistaken when he was put at the top and at the pedestal of the NBA, the class of the NBA, a bona fide, top 10 player in the NBA. And I think maybe he just thought, if he plays still to that capability, like roughly to that capability, he'll stay in that range of the top 6 to 10 player in the NBA. But he was sadly mistaken. And I think he's just now realizing it. Because Devin Booker has not been bad. This is not like oh man, I'm concerned about Jalen Green because there's real holes in his game. Devin Booker is still an elite basketball player. I think he's the 13th best player in the NBA, right around that range. But yet he is now disrespected because this is what happened over the last couple of seasons. When you are out of sight, you are out of mind. And Devin Booker has been out of sight, and you best believe he's out of mind. And Bradley Beal is in a quote-unquote better situation. Lord only knows if he's ever going to actually play consistent games, but he's in a better situation with the Clippers. I mean, Bradley Beal's technically got a better chance to win a championship this year than I think Devin Booker does. And then there's the flip side of that coin, as well as Kevin Durant. Yeah, Kevin Durant was out of sight, out of mind over the last couple of years, but he's a living legend. No one's forgetting about Kevin Durant. He is a part of the three horsemen that is this generation of the NBA. It's LeBron, it's KD, it's Steph Curry. Anyone who is anyone, not just basketball fans, know who those guys are. People have forgotten about Devin Booker, and he's pissed off about it. And you would be too. And so it's why when I see Devin Booker, not smile in pictures or not get testy or angry with the media, but kind of answer things monotoned and in a serious sense. It's like when you get in trouble at work for whatever reason. You were talking too much to coworkers, you were distracting to everyone, whatever. And your boss sets you down and he says, hey, you're not fired, but you're going to be written up. This can't happen. You cannot be a distraction in the workplace. We're trying to make money here. And Devin Booker, I think, took that sort of reprimanding from the rest of the NBA sphere personally. And he's like, okay, you don't want me. You forgot about me? Okay. I'm going to make you remember me. And in the same way you get written up, you stay quiet, you move out of the way, you don't talk to anyone, you overcorrect. And I think Devin Booker is overcorrecting, in a way where he is going to have to do it all over again. He remembers what it was like when he was in the depths of the NBA and no one cared about Devin Booker. There's that meme out there, or that still shot. I think it was on like a FanDuel. Oh, no, it wasn't FanDuel. It was an ESPN show, not FanDuel. It was an ESPN show years ago. And it said, is Devin Booker good? And it was like, what are you talking about? And so Devin Booker, although he's been to the finals, although he's finished 4th or 5th in MVP voting, although he's shown the ability to win in the playoffs, he now has to redo it all over again. After 6, 7 years, 5 years of absolute treacherous and nonsense of being a Phoenix Sun, he thought he finally got out of those shadows. But oh, how quick are we to forget, you, the NBA consumer. Not you, the Suns fan. You don't forget about Devin Booker. But you, the NBA consumer. And Devin Booker has been forgotten. Not by us. We still know how great he is. But you know what they're saying in Atlanta? You know what they're saying in New York and Los Angeles? Yeah, I mean, Devin Booker kind of peaked. He had a chance to win a title, but Anthony Edwards is better. Donovan Mitchell's better. Like, that's the one that always gets me. When people try to tell me Donovan Mitchell's a better player, aside from being a worse playmaker and a worse shot creator than Devin Booker, but not even that. Like, forget that stuff, right? Donovan Mitchell's had just as good as teams as Devin Booker and has been the 1 seed on the west side and on the east side. And guess what happened both times? He failed to make it to the conference finals. But because he's been in the playoffs and because he's been in the public eye, ask anyone who's better, Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker. I encourage you. Ask someone who you know is not a Suns fan. Hey, who do you think's better, Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell? I would almost guarantee you they'd say Donovan Mitchell at this point because out of sight, out of mind. And Devin Booker feels like he has to reprove it all over again. And that pisses him off. And honestly, it should. Regardless of how you feel about Booker, he's a 2, and I would agree with that too. I don't think Devin Booker's a 1. I don't think you can win a championship with him being your best player. But I think he is the best number 2 in the NBA. And on a team that's not trying to win a title and, playoffs would be this, that, or the other, it's okay if he's leading your team. And so Devin Booker is using his leadership like this. Everyone's forgotten about us. We're going to have to reprove it. And you forgot about me? Okay, that's fine. When I drop 50 on opening night, you'll remember me. And Devin Booker is going back to being the de facto 1. and the leader of this team. And I believe that is a better place to be in than, because I always think it's really hard for your best player not to be the leader. Like Devin Booker is the leader. Kevin Durant was the best player. In Miami, Dwayne Wade was the leader, and LeBron James was the best player. But still, even that took a little bit of time to kind of figure out at the beginning. They didn't win a title right away. And so I just think Devin Booker feels forgotten. And I don't blame him for being pissed off about it. No, why would he be happy? He just said in an interview yesterday, yeah, the last 2 years were the 2 hardest years of my career. And he played with Josh Jackson and, Dragon Bender and Marquise Chris. He played with the dude in Isaiah Kanan. Some of you don't remember Archie Goodwin. He was on awful teams. But because expectations are much harder to hold on your shoulders than losing, those are the 2 hardest years of his life. And I do believe Devin Booker is coming back with a vengeance to show he's one of the best players in the NBA. Maybe not a top 10 guy, but right outside those elites, Devin Booker is right out that door. And I don't think people have him there right now. I don't think people think Devin Booker is a bona fide all-star this year. And so that's where I think we're at with Devin Booker. Let's move on to Dillon Brooks, whose presence is already being felt throughout the Valley. And I got to tell you, I think it's even better than even I expected. What do I mean by that? Let's discuss next. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Man, I love FanDuel. And if I'm feeling like nothing in betting is a sure thing, like clearly when it comes to betting, there is always some risk involved. Nothing is a sure thing, but I got to tell you, if I'm betting $5 to get that $300 in bonus bets, I'm betting on the Bills this weekend at home against the Saints, who are absolutely pitiful. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, let's move over to Dillon Brooks, who I think his presence is already affecting winning. There was always that notion or that statistic that wherever Chris Paul went, winning followed, not championships. And I hate when people are like, oh, he never won a championship. Yeah, one team does every year. It's very difficult. So winning always followed Chris Paul. I'll make the argument that Dillon Brooks isn't half the player Chris Paul was. Chris Paul's, Hall of Fame player. But Dillon Brooks affects winning in some of the same ways Chris Paul did. And I think a lot of it comes with mentality, that bleep you mentality that you can't guard me. And even if you can, I'm not going to show it. Same with the Chris Paul thing. Chris Paul was a 6-foot guard who, let's call it what it is, had to earn a lot of respect around the league, went to a small school in Wake Forest. And I think Dillon Brooks, who didn't come from a basketball powerhouse in Oregon, a bigger, basketball brand than Wake Forest, but didn't come from a big brand. He had to establish himself. And so Dillon brings this Dillon the villain mentality that we've talked about a million times. That is when you're playing against it, you absolutely hate him. And when you're when he's on your team, you love him. And I think Dillon is going to bring out a mentality in this team of winning. And here's what I mean by that. Do you remember when Dillon Brooks was on Oregon? Oregon was not a supreme powerhouse at basketball. In the Pac-10, Pac-12, they weren't rattling off Pac-12 championships. Oregon went to the Final Four with Dillon Brooks. Coincidence? Okay, that's fine. With the Memphis Grizzlies, they were a joke. And yet they continuously made the playoffs, made playoff runs, never made a conference championship. But there was always some winning that went along with that. But because Dillon, like Chris Paul, at times wears out his welcome, like Chris Paul, the reason why he's played with a multitude of different teams is because he kind of wears out his welcome after a while. That isn't shocking. He demands a lot of players. He's a big personality, and sometimes players don't like that. Dillon Brooks, I think, is kind of the same way. He demands a lot. He's a little corny, a little bit of a bully. And I think maybe he wears out his welcome, or teams think, we could probably go without that. But is that true? Because the Grizzlies have fallen off a cliff since Dillon Brooks left. I'm not saying he was the key cornerstone there, but they kind of fell off a cliff without Dillon Brooks. But it's not just that. If you want to say, okay, fine, that's a anomaly to Dillon Brooks' career, right here as well. He evolved, because what was Dillon Brooks' biggest, I should have mentioned this, what was Dillon Brooks' biggest issue with the Memphis Grizzlies? What eventually made them want to push him out the door? And this shows his work ethic. Well, this guy just chucks up too many shots. We like his mentality. We like what he does for the team. We like that he's got a villain mentality that just annoys opposing teams and opposing players. And I mean, also, opposing fan bases as well. But Dillon Brooks was a horrendous shooter. And you know what? I should have had this up. I meant to have it up, but let's look at Dillon Brooks' statistics from shooting the ball from three-point land. And this is honestly just really funny. Dillon Brooks' last year in Memphis was a 32% three-point shooter, and he shot 6 of them a game. Dillon Brooks' final year with the Rockets shot 40% from three, shooting the same amount. More efficient and a better scorer. That is the Dillon Brooks you're getting in Phoenix. And so what did he do? Okay, the Grizzlies said, yeah, we don't want you here. That's fine. He left the Grizzlies, fixed his shooting problem, shot 35% from three his first year with the Rockets, 3 percentage points better, which is pretty dramatic. And then the following year, shot 40%. Dillon has shown that he doesn't just have this idea that, like, I'm the best in the league. He will work on his craft. He's not delusional. And so now he's with Phoenix. Houston said, we can go without it. Okay, let's see how that worked out with the Grizzlies. But now he's with Phoenix, and he's going to affect winning in so many ways. And his answers that you're getting in press conferences, I think, are absolutely awesome. We'll talk about what he said a second ago in the, Dillon the Villain Part 2 with someone else. But his ability to be a better defender and a smarter player is going to bode well in Phoenix. And just like how I believe a bad bullpen in baseball is infectious, one guy, one bad apple can spoil the whole bowl. We saw that if you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan this year. One guy blew it, then the next guy, and it just rattled on and on and on, and the bullpen never figured it out. The Arizona Cardinals, if you're a Cardinal fan, maybe you like football, I think drops are contagious. What did we see last week? A couple of different drops. This week, Michael Wilson's dropping the ball. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still dropping the ball. It's contagious, I think. Defense is also contagious. If you are a player on this team and you're watching Dillon give it his bleeping all, day in and day out on the defensive end of the ball, and you're taking time off, that is going to immediately call you out in, film session or, in film rooms or whatever. They're going to say, oh, look at Dillon right here, bodying LeBron James. And what's Kobe Bryant doing over there? Hands in his pockets, not paying attention, not engaged. Defense is an effort thing. Dillon gives a bunch of effort, and it's going to be infectious on this team. And so I think it's already palpable, some of the things that he's saying. And I love that he leans into the Dillon the Villain, archetype, the whatever, whatever you call it, the character of Dillon the Villain. He leans into it, and he says it, in press conferences. Yesterday, you hate me when I'm not on your team, but you love me when I am. Dillon is going to bring an even bigger, even more intensity than I thought he would end up bringing originally. And that's a really good place for the Suns to be, because this team can be influenced very quickly. They've got young guys all over this team. Rasheer Fleming, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Colin Gillespie, Kobe Brea, Kamal Malawach. That's 6 dudes right there who are all, 24 and younger? Jalen Green is a young player. I think he's 23. This team needs to be influenced. They need to have a leader. And yes, Devin Booker's the leader, but a team can have multiple leaders. The president is Devin Booker. Vice presidents, Royce O'Neal and Dillon Brooks, someone that the young guys can learn from. And I think that's infectious. And I think it's already palpable from what you've seen over the last couple of days, just in press conferences. But it's not just Dillon Brooks. He also mentioned that there's another villain on this team, and he wouldn't tell us who. But I've got 2 guesses. One that I think he's talking about, and another that I hope he's talking about. Who are they? Well, let's talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by Skims. Listen, when I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. So let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear. This is genuinely true. Fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Listen, I wasn't sure about it because Brendan was always the one doing this before. But Skims sent some more underwear out, and I was around for this round of it. Gotta tell you, some of the most comfortable underwear I've ever put on. It legit kind of feels like you're wearing nothing, which is almost like you kind of have to do a double take when you walk out the door. You're like, I've got something on, right? So shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. That would be Locked On Phoenix Suns. So make sure you guys go check out Skims. All right, so this is interesting. Dillon, the villain, also mentioned that there's another villain on this team. And he said he wouldn't tell us who it is, which is freaking awesome. One of the things also selfishly that I'm going to love about having Dillon Brooks on this team, content machine. And you want to give me a chance to really get in on the action? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to engage and give my prediction. So Dillon said there's also another villain on this team, but he wouldn't tell us who it is. I think I know who he's talking about because he fits the mold of a Dillon Brooks type level player. I think it's Colin Gillespie. Colin Gillespie, I think kind of similar to Dillon, has the mentality of no one believes in me. It took forever to get my first guaranteed deal. You have to have a bleep you mentality. You have to understand that because you're not this all-worldly defender, you've got to be pesky. You've got to do the little things. You've got to be that glue guy. And so if I'm thinking of players that fit what I think Dillon Brooks is trying to do, like I went down the list. I wrote it all down. Mark Williams, I can't buy it. A guy that's injured all the time, I just can't buy it. Grayson Allen, I think he kind of left that in the past. Devin Booker, no. And Devin Booker doesn't need to be. He's the best player on the team. That's ridiculous. He's a top 15 player in the NBA. Ryan Dunn, I don't know. I don't sense that kind of mentality from Ryan Dunn. Oso, I think, is just far too nice. Kobe Brea, I don't think is going to be, in the league a lot this year. Nigel Hayes-Davis is interesting, and he's growing on me. I know I mentioned before, I'm not really sure where he's going to play this year. And then Royce O'Neal is also an interesting pick, but he's kind of older. I don't think that's the guy that they're looking out for. And then, of course, Nick Richards. Again, I don't see it. I don't know if he's going to play that much. I think Kamal Malawach and Mark Williams are both going to play more. I do think it's Colin Gillespie. He's got to be able to want to be the villain. He's undersized just like Dillon Brooks is. Dillon Brooks is a good defender, but he's undersized. You want to know why? Because it's hard work, it's giving 1,000%, and it's being a pesky, annoying bulldog defensively. Knowing when to use your fouls. I got 6 of them. You best believe I'm going to use 5 of them, and you're going to feel all of them. I think he was talking about Colin Gillespie here. And you guys know how I feel about Colin Gillespie. not you guys. I don't want to single you guys out, but a lot of Phoenix Suns fans were all about this. We're all about getting this point guard. Bring Chris Paul here. Bring whoever here. Like all this stuff, right? That's not where I was at. You already had that in Colin Gillespie. And I didn't think there was any other point guard out there that was better than Devin Booker or Jalen Green at the point guard position. Like, I don't think either guy is amazing at it, but they're better than the other options. And so I still think Colin Gillespie is going to have a really good year. And I believe he's the guy Dillon Brooks was talking about because he kind of fits the mold. But let me tell you who I hope it is. If Colin Gillespie isn't the guy, I hope it's Rasheer Fleming. Because if Rasheer Fleming comes in as this player that can shoot threes, which we already know he can. He shot I think it was 39%, 40% at St. Joseph's last year in his senior year. I think he would be the perfect Dillon Brooks disciple. And it kind of goes as followed. Rasheer Fleming doesn't have the makeup of Dillon Brooks. He doesn't look like Dillon Brooks does. Rasheer Fleming looks like he was made in a lab. He's got a 7'2" wingspan and a 6'9" frame. He's got pterodactyl arms. If he gets the mentality that Dillon Brooks has, the bleep you're going to feel me defensively, and also have an element to his game that I think could be better than Dillon Brooks's offensively this season, shooting the basketball from three, he could be a rookie of the year guy. And so if he comes in with that mentality, which I think he could, because small school guy, passed up in the first round, all those kinds of things, I think he could be the Dillon Brooks disciple of this team. And if he is, that changes drastically the dynamics of the Phoenix Suns this season. It just does. This team is in dire need of a 4. They've got Ryan Dunn. I get that. They've got bigger guys, but they don't have that classic, perfect number 4 that fits this team truly. And I think Rasheer Fleming, if he is that guy, can completely change the dynamics of the Phoenix Suns this year. Colin Gillespie's nice and he's fun, and I think he's going to be a very solid player. I'm ecstatic that they chose him over Chris Paul because I think he's younger, plays better defensively. I think he's going to be able to run the court a little bit more, and he fits more what the Suns are. Chris Paul's not a bad player, but Colin Gillespie kind of fits what they are a little bit more. And so I don't mind that. But what would be great for this team is if Rasheer Fleming develops into 3/4 of what Dillon Brooks is this year and pushes dudes around and becomes that stifling anchor defender. And if he does that, this team could really be a playoff team. If Rasheer Fleming really comes into his own, and I'm very high on Rasheer, mostly for his frame at 6'9" and a 7'3" wingspan, that can drastically change the dynamics of what the Phoenix Suns are this year. So those are my guesses. I think he's talking about Colin Gillespie, but God, it'd be great if it was Rasheer Fleming. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe button. The season's almost here, man. The season's almost here. I'm ecstatic for it. I've got some really good guests lined up, for the Sun season. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. John Voida will continue to join us, once a week. We'll get someone else in here. We're going to get some really good periodic guests. I don't want to spoil it, but we're going to get some good guests in here. And so with that being said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. And guys, until what would it be? Sunday night, Monday morning, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns. Talk to you guys on Monday.